Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the tranquil side of Florida. This is Real Estate Matters, the voice of real estate in Flagler County and Palm Coast for 12 years. In fact, 12 years today. It was July 4th weekend 12 years ago when we did the first show. I'm Toby Tobin. I'm the publisher of real estate news website, gotoby.com, which is 20 years old this year. I'm a Florida licensed realtor with Grand Living Realty. I'm joined in the studio today with co-host Anna Maria Long, who's from the Flagler Home Builders Association, which sponsors our show, along with Hammock Community Church, the little church of the woods on A1A just north of the toll bridge. It's just the two of us today, celebrating the birthday of the show.
And of the country.
And of the country, 250 years. The show's, this is our 624th show, or 25th show would be the first one of the next year. That's a long time. It's been fun. It's been a good ride. So anyway, today we're, if you're regulars, you know the normal format. I go through statistics, usually month to date, how we doing at the first segment of the show, and then we get into another topic. But I think because it's the birthday of the show today, and this year marking 20 years for the website, we're going to look at numbers instead of June this year versus June last year. We're going to look at June this year versus June 2014, and also June 2006. And I think you'll be surprised by some of the numbers. In fact, I spent the last couple of days pouring through some old spreadsheets and doing some statistics analysis. And I was surprised to see the differences. And it really depends on when you pick your numbers. I mean, you can, for instance, you could compare today's median selling price to the median selling price in, say, January 2012, which I don't have with me, but that was the low point when the median selling price, I think, hit $106,000. But the 20-year look back is interesting because that really is, you talk about the ups and downs of the market. 20 years ago, we were just starting to slide downwards from the peak of the housing bubble.
Right.
And now we're out of the Great Recession. We had the Great Recession, which the number of homes sold dropped down to its bottom point about 2009.
Yeah, bad.
And prices hit bottom 2012. But it was a real long haul. And gotoby.com has been here that whole ride. It's really interesting. So anyway, let's look at June numbers, and these are not totally final because we're recording this on the 2nd. We've got another handful of days when MLS numbers will still be reported because all of our numbers come off the Flagler MLS system. They're Flagler County addresses sold and reported through the Flagler County MLS. We're hitting record numbers here. The number of homes sold is not a record, but it's close. 327 homes sold through noon today with a median price of $363,850. That compares to June last year, 257. So remember, this year 327, last year 257.
So people are still buying houses.
They are, in spite of what you read in the press and you read on social media. The median price last year was pretty much the same at $358,445. Days on market this year is 43 days on market. Last year was 52, so not a real big change there. And we always look, for the last couple of years, we've been really tracking the two extremes of the upper end and
under
lower
250
end.
and over $1 million.
Which seem to behave very much the same, but for obviously not the same reasons. But in the 250,000 or below 250,000 market so far this month, of the 327, 8 were below 250,000. And remember, I mentioned that at the bottom of the Great Recession, 112 was the median.
Right.
That's amazing how far down we can go and how we can bounce back. Of those 8, 5 were for cash, and days on market at that end of the market was below the total market at 25 days. The $1 million plus market, which is really showing strength recently, 14 homes have sold, 7 were for cash, 40 days on market, which is slightly below the overall days on market number. The number of listings, 1,158 versus 1,405 a year ago. Days on market on the listing side so far, 75. A year ago it was 74, so that seems to be not too exciting. Pending sales, 333 at the beginning of this month versus 319 a year ago. Days on market is down to 50 from 62 a year ago. And the list price of the pending sales is $379,383 versus $366,000 a year ago. The index seems to be rising over last month, but it's still below a year ago. A year ago it was 4.4. This year it's 3.5. But we actually got under 3 a couple months ago.
Yeah, that was nice.
The index, by the way, is named in honor of Bobby Ginn, who put his stamp on the development of Palm Coast and was partially responsible for the housing boom that we had back in the 2000s. Yeah. That's the ratio of pending to listed sales. So I want you to check out the my latest article on gotoby.com. It's a report from May, and we'll be seeing another report for June coming within the next week. But it's a report of the May results, and it summarizes it's May versus May a year ago, but also the first 5 months versus the first 5 months a year ago. And one of the things that's really interesting about this article is it contains a map. It's an interactive map that shows the home sales from May. And what I did for the month of May is I layered it to 4 different pricing layers. So it's under 250,000, 250 to 500, 500 to $1 million, and $1 million plus. And you can, and on the map, each of those categories is a different color pin. So you can see the green pins for the $1 million plus, they would have to be green, are almost all east of the Intercoastal Waterway. And then I've got the 500 to $1 million, and most of those are, besides being on the barrier island, between I-95 and the Intercoastal Waterway. And then the 250 to 500 are almost all west of the Intercoastal Waterway, but they're on both sides of I-95, most of them on the west side. So anyway, check that map out. I checked this morning, and that map has been viewed over 2,300 times.
It's fantastic. It's a really good resource it's also fun to look at, even if you're not like in the industry. It's just
it
interesting to look at.
You click on one of the pins, and and a dialog box pops up that gives the selling date, gives the address, gives the the selling price, the total square footage, heated square footage, and then the price per square foot and the subdivision.
Yeah, so even if you're just nosy, take a look.
I really think that's, of the 2,300 views, probably 1,500 of them are nosy views.
That's fine.
So today we want to talk about the 250th anniversary of our country and 12th birthday for Real Estate Matters and 20 years of GoToby.com. A lot's happened in 12 years.
I raised a whole child and had 2 more.
So you haven't been working full time.
I've been working overtime.
It's your job. So anyway, GoToby.com, which now boasts over 3,000 pages of content. Even more's happened in 20 years than in 12. So starting with, it's interesting because 20 years takes us really from the peak of the housing bubble,
Mm-hmm.
which was the beginning of 2006, through the 15 years it took us to recover from the housing bubble, because we didn't hit the median price at the top of the bubble, the beginning of 2006, was basically 260,000,
Mm-hmm.
259,990 actually, I think. But we didn't hit that number again until COVID.
Yeah. If you just want to know what's wrong with millennials like myself, I graduated high school in 2006. Right. As you said, everything began to fall out. And then I graduated college in 2010 when everything did fall out.
So
when we finally recovered was, after a worldwide pandemic.
And it was, we were the poster child of the .com bubble.
Mm-hmm.
For 2 years in a row. Flagler County and the city of Palm Coast were the fastest growing county and city, respectively, in the country on a percentage.
And I remember as a student having just new students literally coming in every single day to our schools. That was when Indian Trails was a K-8 center. That's where I went there starting in 3rd grade when it opened.
Well, now, you notice we have not built a new school in many, many years, although we're still collecting outrageous impact fees.
$5,450
for schools, each single family home. And apartments and condos also contribute school impact fees. But for the last probably 15 years, our student enrollment in the public school system has not grown at all. In fact, it's declined slightly this year.
Yes. We did build an addition onto Matanzas, so that should be able to be paid off in full now.
Yeah, it should be. I remember during the early days of GoToby.com, the word on the street was we were growing so fast, we were going to have to build one new school every year in perpetuity.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Good thing we didn't do that.
Hold that thought, folks. We have to take a quick break. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for staying with us. This is the second half of Real Estate Matters. We're doing a happy birthday show. This has been the 12th year of Real Estate Matters on this fine radio station, WNZF News Radio. And we're comparing numbers. Instead of this month versus the same month a year ago, we're going back to 2006 when GoToby.com started, and 2014 when the radio show started, and come up with some really interesting numbers. When compared to June 2014, the median price was median selling price for single-family homes, this is MLS numbers, $160,000. But if you adjust that for inflation, it's $226,560. So
still really a steal.
It was a real steal, and the bottom of the price market was 2014, when there was 1 month when I think it was 106 or 112. I can't remember. 106,000. I'm thinking there was 1 month there were only 9 building permits pulled.
Yep.
In fact, 2 different months there were just 9 building permits pulled. But the most dramatic change is found in the total sales volume. And the following adjusted numbers show that if you take the total sales, that's all home sales, the accumulation of all the dollar amounts. And that's important because that's really the measure of the health of the industry. And it's also the number that most people get paid on.
Yeah.
You know, like realtors, appraisers, and
lenders.
such. Yeah. So June 2006, the inflation-adjusted total sales volume was 41.5 million. June 2014, 52,000 or 52.5 million. June 2026, it's going to be, we're still counting, but it's 151 million. So that's that's an impressive number.
So
but if you look
3
at
times almost.
a lot of the other numbers were less impressive.
Yeah.
I think you'd be surprised. I know the Home Builders Association had to deal with all of these numbers too. And I was, during those days, early days, I was a member of the board for a while, a couple of years, and we were living off reserves.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of businesses closed, and actually during the time that Flagler was able to live off of reserves, unfortunately, a lot of other local associations closed completely and were later absorbed by larger associations. That's why Jacksonville is now the Northeast Florida Builders Association. They have Duval, Nassau, Clay, Baker, St. John's counties, and Orlando is the Greater Orlando Builders Association, and they cover a massive amount of space as well.
But digging through these numbers, I found out, had several illustrations of how you can use numbers to paint pretty much whatever picture you want to paint.
Yeah.
If you take the 2006 numbers, the top of the market back then at 259,990, if you apply inflation adjusted, that's $415,528,000. So that is less than what our current median price is. So if you wanted to make the argument that we're not even keeping up with inflation with our housing costs, you could make that argument using these numbers. Of course, they're not. Well, they're true numbers, but they're not honest numbers.
Yeah.
It's you're taking the very, very high of a peak market. By comparison, if you use the June 2014 numbers, the adjusted price is substantially below today's market because you're comparing to more the bottom of the market.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't return to the 259 number until June 2020, but that's unadjusted for inflation again, too.
That's a straight number.
Mm-hmm. So compared to June 2014, the median price was 160. That was 226,560 when adjusted. So 226,550. Substantially below today's median price. So we mentioned a moment ago about how the total sales volume is it's the number that just reaches out and grabs you. And why is that different? Well, when you take the number of homes sold times the price, the average price, that's your total market. And if either the average price goes up, which we have seen that's happened, but the number of homes sold has also gone up substantially. So when you take two numbers and multiply them, if they're both bigger, then
you get a bigger number.
The result number is really bigger. So, for instance, In June 2006, there were 195 homes sold. Okay. And by the way, that's when I bought my last investment property, right at the top of the market. And by the way, I think I paid $270 for it. Put $20,000 in hard cash into improvements.
Mm-hmm.
Carried it for 2 years, carrying costs of over $2,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Sold it for $240. So that was a lesson to be learned.
Hence your last investment.
It was my last. So anyway, that was 195 homes were sold in June 2006. June 2014, it had dropped. The homes were much, much less expensive, but the market was also more sluggish.
Right.
189 homes sold. So far, as of noon today, 327 homes have sold.
Yeah.
So for those of you out there who are
saying
the sky is falling,
yeah,
the sky
there's
is
too many
falling.
homes, no one's buying them. Actually.
So that reflects a shift in the housing mix also, with a shift towards more expensive homes. When the median price goes up or down, moves in either direction, it doesn't mean that the value of most homes went up or down. It's a measure of the market.
Right.
And the market is how many homes sell, and then what price point do they sell at? Not the value of the home, but I'm talking about segment of the market, the upper segment, lower segment. For instance, the highest price home sold in 2014 was $840,000. No $1 million sales. And even if you adjust that for inflation, it's only $1,189,000. By comparison, this June, and again, we could have a couple more sales reported, but 11 of the 14 $1 million plus homes had a selling price above the adjusted price from 2014. And of those 11, there were 2 for $2 million plus, and 1 was over $4 million.
Very, very different from 2014.
Sure thing. And
I'm loving these building permit statistics, because that proves a lot of things that are untrue from the internet.
Why don't you do that part?
Yeah. So in May 2006, there were 195 building permits issued. In May 2014, there were only 42 building permits issued, which, as we just said, was definitely not the least in any month. And now, in May 2026, only 151 building permits. And that's compared 20 years ago, was 195. Just last month was 151. So when people say that this growth is extraordinary or out of control, I argue back, we've done this before. We've done more than this before.
And remember, 20 years ago, the population was roughly half what it is.
Right. So the percentages were actually increasing at a higher rate. And they were collecting impact fees, and they had all the money to do things. And I say they as all the governments. So failure to plan does not constitute an emergency.
Here's an interesting tidbit on the segments of the market, how they're behaving differently and what impact they have. In June, the $1 million plus homes represent only 4.3% of the homes sold, but they account for 15.6% of the total sales volume. And another stat on the health of the market 20 years ago versus the bottom of the market versus today. Foreclosures initiated. People seem to be really concerned about that. In May 2006, there were 29 new foreclosure filings. In May 2014, there were 126. And guess what they were in May 2026? 29, the same, exactly the
So
same
I can
as
see it's
20 years
cheating.
ago.
Yeah.
But we've got twice as many homes now.
Twice as many homes. More permits were being issued in 2006, and we still have only 29. So it actually means fewer foreclosures per capita
Yeah.
or per home.
And roughly 50% less.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But you ready for a wrap up?
Yeah, I got this. Well, first off, I want to wish Toby a happy birthday because his birthday is on Monday. So happy birthday.
Thank you.
If you see him, wish him a happy birthday or drop happy birthday in the comments. Video podcasts of Real Estate Matters are available on gotoby.com. Click on podcasts on the top navigation bar. Show notes are included so you can see what we did not get to on today's show. Also on gotoby.com, the Flagler County interactive map of residential developments and subdivisions updated regularly. Currently viewed over 11,000 times.
And I added two new pins to the map this week, so
go click on those.
Go see if you can find which ones are the new ones. So got an offer for everybody. Let me be your consultant at no additional cost to you. Owners associations, Florida's property tax system, they're often misunderstood, especially by buyers and sellers from out of state. But that usually leads to undesired outcomes, and sometimes people end up just getting mad and moving back someplace else, and that happens. Yeah. I've served on homeowners and condo association boards and the CDD commission. I understand the world of deed-restricted communities. I also served for more than 10 years on the Flagler County Value Adjustment Board. So, if you're thinking of buying or selling property in Flagler County, call me first. I'll introduce you to a highly qualified agent or builder or both, and stay with you as a consultant throughout the transaction at no additional cost to you. So if that sounds like an interesting proposition to you, which it should, give me a call. You can reach me at 386-931-7124, or you can email me at toby@gotoby.com. I'm Toby Tobin, and I approve this show. See y'all next week.